Please be seated. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, the Chief of Staff, Ministers of State, Presidential Advisors, Heads of State Institutions, Captains of Industry, welcome to this presidential dialogue with the private sector. My name is Bernard Avile. I will be your MC/moderator for this engagement. I'd like to begin by inviting the Minister for Government Communications and Presidential Spokesperson, MP, the Honorable Felix Kwakye Ofosu, to do some brief introductions and set in context tonight's program. Please put your hands together for Felix Kwakye Ofosu.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Your Excellency, the Honorable Chief of Staff, Ministers of State, senior government officials present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Let me formally welcome you on behalf of His Excellency the President to this important gathering, which is a platform created to offer opportunity for engagement between His Excellency and the private sector and business community of Ghana. Since January 2025, His Excellency the President and his government have been busy cobbling together various policies aimed at fostering a congenial business environment. Indeed, much of the heavy lifting has been done, and some of the results are beginning to show. Everybody in this room would attest to the truism that the business environment today is much better than it was before His Excellency assumed office. But it is one thing to sit in the hallowed walls of government and make policy. It is quite another to have a more visceral and candid assessment of the impact of those policies, in order that those policies can be fine-tuned and that they are better created to meet the needs of the audience, which in this case are those within the business community. And so this forum has been put together as part of a series of engagements with important segments of Ghanaian society. After this engagement, because His Excellency has a deliberative and consultative approach to governance, he would also engage members of organized labor who form a chunk of the workforce of Ghana. After that, he will also meet members of civil society in order that his policies come under scrutiny and come out in ways that are more beneficial. But many reasons exist why this sort of gathering is important. At the very least, it offers an opportunity for ideation and synthesis of various viewpoints, so that only the best policies can come out for the benefits of all. Again, it provides an important platform for feedback, so that His Excellency and his government are able to assess exactly what the impact of those policies have been and what could be done better in order to foster an even better business environment. I must indicate that it is not only people within segments of Ghanaian society that His Excellency will be engaging. This is part of an overarching objective to take governance to the people. So in addition to these engagements, His Excellency will be stepping out to meet the people of Ghana as well. They are, after all, the reason why he is in office. You may have noticed that at the presidency, we hold regular briefings through which various ministers of state and other officials engage with the Ghanaian public to tell them exactly what government is doing. But His Excellency wants to take it a step further by having regional accountability fora and district accountability fora, where he will lead a delegation of ministers who will be joined by regional ministers, district chief executives, and other office holders at various levels of government, so that he is able to account directly to the people. All of this is aimed at achieving one objective: to make his government better than he even intends it to be. It is my belief that the objectives set for this evening will be achieved by the time we are done. And His Excellency would encourage you to be as candid as possible in your assessment and engagement with him, so that overall we all leave this place much better informed about what policies he has for us and how those policies have impacted. So with those brief comments, I would welcome you once again and wish you a fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Felix Kwachio-Fosu, Minister for Government Communications. We'd like to quickly acknowledge some of the key functionaries for tonight to support tonight's function. We have the Chief of Staff in the person of Honorable Julius Debra here with us. While we have all sector ministers here, we have two important ones for tonight's function. Minister for Finance, Kasiel Atufosin, MP. Thank you. Minister for Trade, Industry and Agribusiness, Honorable Elizabeth Ofusue-Jari, MP. And of course, Felix Kwachio-Fosu, the Minister for Government Communications. We also want to acknowledge all other ministers here with us, if they can just give us a wave so we acknowledge all of them. Thank you. We also have the President's advisors on the key thematic areas, including 24 economy, good governance. If you can just give us a wave, all the President's advisors. We also have the Governor of the Bank of Ghana in the person of Johnson Pandit Esiama. We have heads of government agencies, including GIPC, GEPA, and all the state agencies. Please give us a wave where you are sitting. Thank you. We have chief executives of state enterprises and government corporations. If you can also give us a wave where you are sat, we'll be happy to acknowledge you. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. President, we have 150 companies grouped into 14 categories. And for the want of time, we'll just mention the 6 subcategories. And when I mention your industry, you can just give us a wave so we know you are here. So under the rubric of heavy industry and construction materials, we have the steel and ceramics products companies. If they can give us a wave, steel and ceramics product companies. Thank you. We have the cement manufacturing companies. They are 6 in number. Cement companies, give us a wave. And still under the heavy industry, we have automobile assembly components and bodyworks. They are 7. The steel and ceramics organizations, the President, are 21. They are 21 in all. Thank you. Under the light manufacturing and consumer goods, we have textile and garments. And under that rubric, we have about 12 companies. Textile and garments, give us a wave. Thank you. Paper and paper products, we also have them here. They are about 7 in number. Give us a wave. Cosmetics, toiletries, diapers, and sanitary parts, they are 10 in all. Please give us a wave. And then we have plastics and recycling, also under the light manufacturing and consumer goods. That group, they are 6 in all. Please give us a wave. The third category is food, beverages, and agro-based manufacturing. Under that, we have food and beverages. There are 19 companies. 19 companies. Agro-processing, 14 companies. Give us a wave. It's a roll call, please. Poultry, feed, and fish products, there are 3 organizations. The fourth broad category is chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and health-related manufacturing. Under that, we have pharmaceutical companies, and they are 15 in all. And then under agrochemicals, we have 5 in all. Agrochemicals. Last but not least, we have the category we call electrical, energy-linked, and cross-cutting. Under that, we have electrical cables. There are 3 organizations. And then we have 9 organizations categorized under broad. So that's about 12 in that group for the final 5. We also have 14 industry associations. I won't go through the list. AGI, FAGE, and all of those. Please give us a wave. Thank you very much for being part of this program. So without further ado, we'd like to, with respect, receive the host of the program, the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to bring to us his opening remarks. Please rise and let's receive him.
Thank you. Thank you. Kindly be seated. Thank you very much. Ministers of State, members of the Council of State, captains of industry, private sector leaders, business executives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to what I believe will be a defining conversation in Ghana's industrial and economic transformation. In the run-up to the 2024 election, I made a firm promise that if Ghanaians entrusted me with their mandates, I would hold an annual dialogue with captains of industry and business to address the challenges hindering the growth of the private sector in Ghana. Promise made, promise kept. I've convened this presidential dialogue with the private sector because I hold a simple but firm conviction that Ghana's economic transformation is a joint enterprise. The government cannot achieve it alone, and equally the private sector cannot thrive without a government that listens, reforms, and creates an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. Tonight is about resetting that partnership between government and the private sector. And we must do this candidly, substantively, and with mutual accountability. I also wish to acknowledge the extensive sector engagements undertaken by my Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry over the past year. Those consultations, from exporters, roundtables, to factory visits, and market engagements have grounded our policy direction in practical reality. Ghana's economy has emerged from a period of severe turbulence. We are beginning to see positive signals: relative stabilization of the currency, improved investor sentiment, strengthened business confidence, new private capital investments in manufacturing and processing. These outcomes reflect deliberate fiscal consolidation, value-added tax rationalization, removal of distortionary levies, and a determined effort to restore macroeconomic credibility. But let me be clear, stabilization is not equal to transformation. For over 5 decades, Ghana's manufacturing sector has contributed around 10% to GDP. Meanwhile, emerging Asian economies starting from a similar basis have achieved manufacturing share of 20% to 30% of GDP and thereby creating mass employment and export competitiveness. And so we need to change our trajectory. I've therefore set a national target. Manufacturing must contribute at least 15% of GDP by the year 2030. Supported by 500,000 new quality industrial jobs. This will require structural reform and not incremental adjustments. I take note of the Ghana Chamber of Mines' recent report that says that Ghana is losing competitively in investments to Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria. There are many areas we need to look at as outlined in the report. Areas like corporate taxation, electricity tariffs and stable power, duties on machinery and equipment, and several other factors. And so, across every subsector represented here tonight, one constraint dominates. That is the cost of energy and reliability of power. Industrial tariffs in Ghana remain uncompetitive relative to our regional peers. No industrial nation thrives under structurally high cost of power. This administration will accelerate energy sector debt restructuring, expand generation capacity, particularly in renewables, introduce differentiated off-peak industrial tariffs, improve transmission efficiency, and promote embedded generation in industrial enclaves. Energy reform is not optional. It is foundational to Ghana's industrial takeoff. The same applies to water supply for manufacturing. We must reform the water sector and include private sector participation in the supply of industrial water. While interest rates are falling sharply from the highs of about 38% a few years ago, industrialization cannot take off when interest rates remain around 18 to 20%, and lending tenors are quite short-term. We can resolve these challenges by establishing dedicated financing windows for manufacturing, partner with the Bank of Ghana and development finance institutions, develop special purpose vehicles for SME industrial expansion, expand credit guarantee schemes, and deepen long-term capital markets instruments. Access to affordable patient capital will be treated as a structural reform priority by this government. Smuggling under declaration, counterfeit goods, and rebagging of inferior products are not minor infractions. They constitute economic sabotage. To stem this tide and protect our fledgling manufacturing sector, we will intensify coordinated border enforcement, treat trade infractions as economic crimes, dismiss and prosecute public officers found culpable, deploy technology-driven customs surveillance solutions, and rigorously enforce product standards. This government is determined to protect Ghanaian enterprises so they can thrive and grow. Industrialization requires secure land tenure and protection of agricultural resources. In this regard, we will accelerate litigation-free industrial land banks, reform land tenure to support commercial contract farming, strengthen action against illegal mining and sand winning, expand irrigation systems, and invest in storage and cold chain infrastructure. Land reform is absolutely essential for our economic transformation. Sector-specific actions that we need to take. In textiles and garment industry, enforcement against counterfeit fabrics, tax exemptions on machinery and inputs, mandatory local procurement compliance, and with the agro-processing sector, commercial contract farming frameworks, expanded irrigation, post-harvest infrastructure for preservation and storage, fast-tracked agro-industrial land allocation. For pharmaceuticals, incentives for local API production, active ingredient production, stronger border enforcement against smuggled drugs, support for WHO GMP compliance. With the cement industry, enforcement of LI 2491, promotion of local clinker and other component production, resolution of port constraints in terms of discharge and logistical handling, and crackdown on rebagging of inferior cement. With iron and steel, border enforcement against smuggled steel, VAT compliance in scrap supply chains, tax exemption on plants and machinery, integrated value chain strategy, and ban on ferrous and non-ferrous scrap material. For food and beverages, stronger port enforcement, cold chain investments, and local raw material substitution. And for automotive industry, enforcement of age and quality standards, fiscal incentives for localization, affordable vehicle financing schemes, and regional market expansion under the African Continental Free Trade Area. The Cabinet will soon approve the National Agribusiness Policy to anchor our aim of value addition. Recently, wild fluctuations in the world cocoa market price have compelled us to take emergency steps to cushion our cocoa industry and protect our farmers. Measures have included a painful downward review of the domestic producer price. The current crisis in the cocoa sector compels us to urgently introduce reforms in the entire cocoa value chain. Reforms will include, amongst others, domestic funding for cocoa purchasing, expanded involvement of local licensed buying companies in cocoa purchasing, including the revamp of the produce buying company, expand value addition and processing of cocoa and other tree crops locally, automatic price mechanism that pays the farmer 70% of the international market price at prevailing exchange rates, drastic reduction of expenditure and elimination of waste in the cocoa board, and retooling of the cocoa processing company. We must move Ghana from a raw commodity exporter to a value-added producer. The same applies to the extractive industry. To achieve processing of all mineral ores locally within a 5-year time frame. At the center of our transformation agenda is a 24-hour economy policy. Factories operating one shift produce one shift's output. Factories operating 3 shifts maximize capital, infrastructure, and labor productivity. The 24-hour economy authority has now been established to coordinate nationwide implementation. I had the privilege of assenting to this bill, and it has been enacted into law. For manufacturers, this includes shift-based incentives, off-peak electricity tariffs, enhanced nighttime security, structured labor dialogue, tax exemptions on equipment for factory expansion, and other associated incentives. This is not mere reform, it is a productivity revolution. The African Continental Free Trade Area is the world's largest integrated market by the number of participating countries. But access alone does not guarantee competitiveness. Energy reform is an African Continental Free Trade Area strategy. Financing reform is an African Continental Free Trade Area strategy. Enforcement reform is an African Continental Free Trade Area strategy. We must work to make Ghana West Africa's production hub. Before I conclude, thank you. Thank you. Before I conclude, allow me to address a sector often seen as social, but fundamentally economic, and that's the area of sports and recreation. Sports today influences global markets, tourism, media rights, youth employment, creative industry, and investment flows. In 2026, Ghana stands at the center of several global platforms. Our national football team, Black Stars, is preparing for its 5th FIFA World Cup appearance. Our women's soccer team, Black Queens, heads into continental competition with renewed credibility. We also prepare for the 2026 Commonwealth Games and the 2026 Summer Youth Olympics. These moments position Ghana before global audiences and investors in ways that few sectors can do. We've therefore established the Ghana Sports Fund, a transparent financing framework for grassroots development, school sports, athlete welfare, infrastructure modernization, and long-term talent pathways. No country achieves sporting excellence without deliberate funding systems. I invite corporate Ghana to view this not as charity, but as a partnership in national development. Government has created a framework. Let us build the systems. So tonight, private sector, I have you here, and all senior government officials, ministers, Bank of Ghana, GIPC, 24-hour authority, all of us are here together. I propose a covenant between us. Government must commit to maintain stable macroeconomic policy. The turbulence in macroeconomic policy affects your businesses. We must maintain regulatory clarity. Regulations must be clear and simple and not intended to obstruct private business. We must look at the whole structure of industrial financing and apply industrial financing reform. We must enforce fair trade, so fair trade enforcement. Government also commits to improving infrastructure, including the roads, utilities, power, water, so that the private sector and industry can expand and thrive. And then also government commits to regular consultation with the private sector to resolve the challenges and obstacles that prevent your businesses from growing. In return, I ask the private sector to invest and scale up domestic production, create additional Ghanaian jobs, prioritize local content, invest in skills development, maintain international standards for our products, and engage transparently in policy dialogue with government. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ghana we all seek will not be built by speeches. It will be built by factories operating at scale. It will be built by farms that are linked to processing plants. It will be built by laboratories that are producing pharmaceuticals. It will be built by industrial parks that are producing for Ghana and exporting to Africa and beyond. And so, today is a presidential dialogue with the private sector, but let us move from dialogue to delivery as we leave this place. Together, we will build an industrial Ghana that is competitive, resilient, and prosperous. May God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong.
We thank His Excellency the President for his opening remarks. This is still the presidential dialogue with the private sector. Before we open the floor for the private sector, we would hear from two sector ministers. I'd like to first invite the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, who is also the MP for Techima North, the Honorable Elizabeth Ofosue-Jari, to bring to us her presentation ahead of the engagement. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Here, so let me quickly just do the introduction. I have the CEO for the MPA right here, Lawyer Duji Tamaklo. Good morning to you. Lawyer Duji, how are you?
Good morning to my colleagues.
Okay, and then lawyer Apia Dankwa is also here. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Ro.
Of the United Party, and from the MPP I have Rex Jemfi. It's Rex, isn't it? Richard Jemfi.
Yes.
Richard Jemfi is here. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
And then Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin is also here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Right. And there are related subject matters that we want to discuss this morning. The Finance Minister has just made the announcement that for those who had their bonds restructured under the domestic debt exchange program, 10 billion partly of the balances have been paid. That also means or begs the question, why are we getting these results? Is it because of prudent economic management, fiscal rationalization, or expenditure rationalization, so to speak? But importantly, how do we make sure that we stay on track and not go off gear, not only with the IMF, but other lines of expenditure, knowing the pressure that's on the public purse for the Finance Minister and government generally to be able to do more? But critically, how do we put all that into perspective? So we'll be doing that. And then we'll also take a holistic look at other related matters when it comes to all the subjects that are being talked about in relation to the diversions that are being witnessed, the trader fronts and other sectors of the economy. You know, the Finance Minister again said that there was a transit diversion of some trailers, on top of that having some goods. And that diversion also means that they don't pay the right sort of taxes, etc. How do we put all that into perspective? There's a conversation on dual citizenship. I don't know whether my guests could take a sneak peek on that as well. But, you know, it's always a very thorny issue. There currently is a bill in Parliament. And Eduji, if you could, even though it's not up for discussion, we discussed that for our morning segment this morning. It looked to be eliciting some responses from citizens. Some say that for security reasons, national security, etc. I don't know what's your mind on it, since you're a lawyer as well.
Okay, so once again, good morning to you. Good morning to my colleague or my learned colleague. And Jimmy, right? Yeah. Yes, my first time meeting you. And good morning to Professor from Winneba. That said, I think that we find ourselves in quite an interesting situation where a Ghanaian born to Ghanaian parents, but it is naturalized maybe to the US of A. And we are saying that by reason of that arrangement, that person is denied the opportunity of holding certain positions. Let me point out that it would have been extremely difficult for Barack Hussein Obama to become president of Ghana than becoming the president of the United States of America, because Ghanaian law would have immediately disqualified him from becoming president. But there's a history in Ghana. If you recall, there's a man called Bilson. When the NDC in 1992 decided that Jerry Rawlings was going to be the NDC flag bearer for the 1992 election, Bilson went to the High Court with a writ saying that Jerry Rawlings, by reason of the fact that the father was a Scottish or from the United Kingdom, was disqualified by reason of the fact that dual nationals could not hold certain key positions in this country. It took a High Court judge to, as it were, put stop to that mischief, where the High Court judge reasoned that Jerry Rawlings, having reasoned through the military to the point at the point he was even the head of state, having taken the oath of allegiance on many countless times and defended the republic as a military officer, it was unconscionable to now raise the point that by reason solely of the fact that the father is Scottish, he was barred from holding certain key positions. And that is how the application Bilson took to the High Court was dismissed. And eventually, Jerry Rawlings went ahead to win the 1996 election, proceeded to become the president of Ghana for 2 terms. Can any one of us here say Jerry Rawlings was less patriotic? No. And in any case, which one of us decided who our father will be? Which one of us decided that this will be the woman who will be my mother? And so, some of the laws that we make becomes anti-progressive. Yes, there's a critical issue that, when you have a situation where there is a dual national holding a key position, the person can run away, having served this republic, and for that matter, on issues of accountability and the rest, you need to keep such people out. Why? Is Ken Ofori-Atta not a full-blooded Ghanaian?
I don't understand. What's that got to do?
No, people have raised the point that one of the reasons why dual nationals should not be allowed to hold certain positions is that they can easily run away or go back to the other country and accept their citizenship for the purposes of not being accountable. And I'm saying that as we speak, Ghana's former finance minister is in the US of A, denying himself the benefit of even accounting for his own leadership and stewardship. And so that argument, even a full-blooded Ghanaian can still do it. As we speak now, our former minister for finance is in the US. He had applied to the State Department.
水これくらいかな。お母さん大丈夫かな。宿題いつやろう。今日もお母さん辛そうだな。
ねえねえねえ。その気持ちもう少し聞かせて。家族を思う君の気持ちをもっと話してほしい。周りにいる大人に話してみませんか。
あのね。
For asylum. What about that?
Well, the response was if dual citizenship was allowed, then he could have asserted his rights of
No, but now he's going into asylum, so the reverse is the case.
Because if you are asserting your rights as a U.S. citizen, it's not the same like you now making the application.
But at least there's an application. So I am just saying that you can never be clear as to how a man will conduct himself tomorrow. But what we cannot do is to say we are denying people the opportunity of holding certain critical public offices simply because, look, there arose in this country a very powerful minister for foreign affairs. The mother is not a Ghanaian, but the father is. And she has served this country and she's still serving this country in many, many other respects. What about that? So please, I strongly believe that patriotism can be tested in different forms and shape.
Okay. You want to have a bite on this before we speak on the DDEPS?
Yeah, so let me wish your lovely viewers a good morning. Wish my learned friend and brother Eduji a good morning, and Mr. Jemfi, former party a good morning. And my prof here a good morning. I sincerely think that we have the best chance of developing as people when we open ourselves to tapping into the best talents available to us. And my personal view is that it shouldn't matter whether the person also is a citizen of another country. Because, you see, essentially, the reason why most of our compatriots have sojourned to other places is to seek for greener pastures. For most of them, if the system here was solid, there was no way they would have gone. And I think we'll be making a mistake if we say that by reason only of the fact that they have procured for themselves citizenship elsewhere, then we don't want to tap into their talent, we don't want to tap into their vast experience in developing our country. Indeed,
Ghanaians have done very well and are continue to do very well all over the world. I think the guy or the person who developed the transport system, and I think in one of the cities in Germany, is a Ghanaian. We have people like Dr. Thomas Mensah, who
the late
Dr. engineer. I'm presuming that supposing someone like him has a dual citizenship, are you going to say that because of that, by reason of only of that, you won't tap into his vast experience and his intellect in developing our country? So personally, for me, I don't think it should be an issue. Once the person has the ability, once the person has the commitment, then for me it shouldn't be an issue. Let's open our country up. Let's tap. After all, don't we even bring technical experts who are not Ghanaian into Ghana to help us in our developmental agenda? In football, we do not have an issue going to recruit people who were not even born in Ghana to aid Black Stars. So, why shouldn't we open ourselves up for Ghanaians who have dual citizenship and Ghanaians, whether they were born here or not, to help in that development agenda? So personally, I don't have any issue, and I'll support any effort, the bill to grant us that opportunity.
And Richard, Money Nimane is a regular watcher. He says that those who are against this are they saying that those in the diaspora, he lives in the UK, we should stop sending money to Ghana? He's talking about remittances and their contribution to...
I partly agree. And Roland, good morning.
Morning, Richard.
Good morning to all my colleagues. I think, Eluji, this is the second time we are meeting, but, you know, power tends to
Look at it.
make you forget your good old friends, which is understandable. Myself, I'm a diaspora person. Following KUST in 2007, I've lived in UK for nearly 15 years, but I see Ghana as my home. Although I joined the British Army for 6.5 years, done the tours and all that, drew Commonwealth. Because Ghana is a Commonwealth country, I had the opportunity to join the military. And so all these years, I still dream in Twi language. I still dream playing soccer on Kasi LA Park. So I am a full-blooded Ghanaian.
Yeah.
And we had many of us scattered around who are wanting to take part in national position to, you know, contribute their quota, what they've learned outside the shores of this country. There's one particular guy, young doctor, who was part of the COVID vaccine with Oxford University, Dr. Boache. But, you know, it will be difficult for such a fine brain to find himself in public sector giving back to Ghana just because perhaps, I'm not too sure, but I'm thinking that perhaps if he holds another passport, it makes it very difficult for such a person to come and contribute his quota to Ghana. For us in diaspora, I think this is very, very good. I'm yet to see or hear or read from any diaspora who is against this particular motion. And I believe that it is going to be a non-partisan push from both sides, because even the NDC and the MPP, strangely, when each party is in opposition, they are hugely supported by their diaspora branches or chapters outside the shores of Ghana. And so I think that it will be a difficult discussion if they are to be seen fronting against such a progressive idea. So I'm in full support. But I was following Tamaklo until he veered into Ken Ofori-Atta mantra. Ken Ofori-Atta does not hold American citizenship. So I think that it was unnecessary to bring Ofori-Atta in. If there's if there's any person that we should actually bring home, it's Sedinam Tamaklo, who has been convicted and also seeking refuge in America. So that's all I will say about that.
Very well. Interesting conclusion.
You see, any time that you meet two politicians or three politicians, they'll jab at each other.
Okay, just a short one, then we get to the final.
Yes. I'm for this bill, actually, and I'm tempted to believe that...
should they become president, chief justices, heads of our various security agencies, members of parliament?
You look at the fact that, Papa Ro, we've lost...
Speakers of parliament.
We've lost a lot of brains to the US and to the UK.
Yeah.
I think a Ghanaian rose up to become an exchequer in UK, right?
Yeah.
And a lot more people. This guy who developed this fiber optics, you know, that the US is enjoying and making money out of it, a Ghanaian, all right? And I think that's the name you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get to know that if we should have this kind of inclusion, it is actually going to help, especially when it gets to, you know, its impact on our growth as a country and, you know, electoral participations and all that. You remember the case of Jachiko Esin,